or Hanukkah, but that he's created his own holiday called Festivus. Do you remember this? It's like, I never felt welcomed by the Christmas community or the Hanukkah community, so I've created a Festivus for the rest of us. That's how he phrases it. But one of the reason that I bring it up is because one of the Festivus traditions is the yearly airing of grievances.
Just just air it all out.
Instead of everybody going around and saying, I'm so thankful for this, I'm so thankful for this, they just stand up and they say, I've had a problem with you all year. I'm finally letting everybody know exactly how I feel about you.
Happy Monday morning.
Yeah. Hey, so and that's why Barry and I are here today, to let all of you guys know exactly how we feel about. We love all you guys. Come on, we're just messing around. Yesterday, Chris Johnson was preaching, and then Pastor's still out of town today. So Barry and I get to do one of our favorite routines, which is both of us gather together to talk about a message that neither of us preached.
And air out our grievances.
That's right. Chris Johnson, we've got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, that was such a good message. It was. I love Chris's passion.
Gosh, yeah.
Not just in the text, but this was real life for him. For his family, and so it was really great to hear from him.
I agree. Chris has become a really good friend, and I'm grateful that he's here at the church. And I do want to get to talking about that message here in a second. I'm trying to find, because I had a couple bullet points that I know you and me wanted to talk through before we get into it. I had to scroll way down in my text messages. I've been texting a lot. Mm-hmm. What's your do you text more or email more? What do you do these days?
I probably email more. But there are some texts, especially Courtney and I during the day. We'll text back and forth, and I'll probably email more.
I knew
during the week.
I knew that you were a serious email guy almost immediately. Do you know how I knew?
No.
Because you would send an email, no subject.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you don't even bother with the subject.
I rarely do a subject. I don't have time for a subject.
I love that. I've copied it a couple times. I'm like, man, that's just, you immediately get to the point. You can see everything you want to say in the line. So that's your hot tip. For all you got, whoever's watching out there, John Sistrunk, Michael Nip, others, Brad McGuffey. Who else watches it? John Claxton. Claxton, start sending your emails without a subject. Just give it a shot. Send your boss an email without a subject. Actually, send your boss an email that says, need to speak with you immediately. Need to handle this discreetly. I need a few, gift cards. Oh, man. Well, we're coming up on this. So I don't know if you know this already, but we're coming up on the Christmas season. Oh, before I talk about Christmas season, I got to talk about something else. So, Pike, do you have those pictures just about ready to go? Yesterday, I'll let him pull that together. Yesterday, I did something very strange, Pastor Barry. And because I got to the end of the second service, and then instead of talking with everybody, which that's one of my favorite things to do all week, is being able to just talk and connect with people after the service. But I left the building almost immediately. I jumped in my car. I drove to downtown Birmingham, and I went to St. Simeon Orthodox Church.
Oh, what was that like?
And here it is. Well, I'll show you what it was like. It's right here on the screen, and this guy right here, that's my brother-in-law, Shay Cole, and he was being ordained as a deacon.
Wow.
As a deacon, which is really so. Oh, what were you gonna say?
Is this the one right by the interstate? I've seen like an Orthodox-looking church, like by University.
It is off of University Boulevard.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe it is off the interstate. I don't know if you can see it from the interstate,
Okay.
but it's a great church with great people. The funny part to me was first service while pastor or whoever's preaching, I almost always will just go back to my office. I want to check the live stream. I want to make sure that everything's working okay. Because second service, I always sit with my family. Mm-hmm. So I'm checking the live stream. I'm taking notes. And then, just simultaneously, magic of technology, I pull up the live stream for this service at St. Simeon at the same time, turn the sound off, and just kind of watching what's happening. It's very interesting because they're like putting on different vestments. You can see
Oh, yeah.
he wore 3 different sets of clothes for the service, which was all symbolic. And so anyway, I check all that, and then I come back to the stage, lead the people in the response time. And then the second service, well, my family wasn't here yesterday because they're at the service. So I was just like, well, let me just go and I'll just check the live stream again. So I go back, and the service is still going on 90 minutes later.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, okay, so it's still going on. Then our second service ends. I drive 30 minutes downtown, and the service is still going on. And I arrive, and I get to see the end of the service.
So it's like a 3-hour?
It was about 3 hours.
Wow.
That's amazing. So, Pastor, Miss Debbie, if you're watching, let me hear my heartfelt apology that I've complained about how long Pastor preaches sometimes, because at least it's not 3 hours. But here's my favorite part. So I got there at the end. This is for Joanna as well. So I got there for the end. And they do announcements at the end. You would not believe how long the announcements were.
Another hour.
That was another hour of announcements, divine announcements. And I was just laughing to myself, just thinking about, like, it's just hard to figure out, where do you put announcements in a service? I can just see the guys
Did they do a video, or was it like live?
No, I mean, there's
person making
not a video screen in the whole place.
Okay.
And I wish I could describe this better. I mean, this is I don't even know the names of half of this stuff. I'd have to ask Shay to tell me what this means. But this is supposed to, like, invoke sort of like the Holy of Holies, and there's the inner sanctum and all this. So yeah, words are failing me because I don't know how to describe it. But I can just see them, like, planning out the service. Gosh, where are we going to, we have the 4 psalm readings and the 8 gospel readings. We have the procession of the saints and the back and forth of the censer. We have the lighting of the incense, the lighting of the candle. Where in the world are we going to fit the announcements in this service that's already 2.5 hours long? Yeah, just put it at the end. And do you know that everybody just stands the whole time? So people are standing. There's no chairs in the whole thing.
Yeah.
They just stand. Yeah.
Dedication.
Yeah. They
Wow.
have benches around the outside. So if if you're invalid or you have difficulty standing, so you think we should just stand the whole time? So Joanna, our communications director, has confirmed that starting next Sunday there'll be no more chairs.
3-hour service, no chairs. 2-hour sermon.
Come and go. You come and go.
You come and go. It's an open house starting November 13th. Lucky number 13. Thank you for letting me tell that story. That was I needed to do that because I did feel guilty for leaving so quickly. My kid, I don't know if your kids do this, but my kids are always like, are we going to make it out early enough to still see the police officers directing traffic? That's their measure of, oh, we left too early, the police guys are still here.
Yeah.
It's the month of November, Pastor Barry. Christmas is officially next month.
Yeah. Thanksgiving, what, 2.5 weeks away, something like that?
Have you got all your Christmas shopping done yet?
Oh, no. But our tree is up.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Yeah, it was up in October. So
I like that.
yeah, Courtney loves getting the tree up early. So yeah,
You can do that because you guys probably have the plastic tree or the
Yes.
metal tree, whatever.
Yeah, artificial.
Artificial, thank you. We still do the real tree thing. So it's usually that Thanksgiving week when we go and put ours up. I've somehow managed to convince my kids that that Lowe's is a tree farm.
Genius.
Yeah, genius, right? And I just give them some cider and we go to Lowe's.
To hand me
Right.
to relax.
I don't know if this is going to be the last year that's actually going to work. So who does most of the Christmas shopping? Is it you or does Courtney?
Oh no, it's Courtney for sure. Yeah.
My wife cornered me this past week and was like, listen, I have purchased all the gifts for everyone, but the male members of your family, you are responsible for this. You are getting the gifts for all of the males. And so I texted my brothers and my dad. I said, sorry, no gifts this year, you guys. That's just not going to happen. One more thing I wanted to chat with you. Well, do you have any Christmas travel plans? Or are you guys staying around?
No, we'll be here. I mean, we may do a day trip or two. We kind of like maybe it's Atlanta for a day, or
Yeah.
we have to see my parents for a day, or something like that. But we rarely do overnight, so we'll be here.
It's tough doing overnight when you got to transport that many people.
Yes.
I can relate. We're gonna go to man. I can't believe that I'm saying this. We're going to on Christmas Day. We're gonna finish the church service and everybody will be there on Christmas Day, 10 a.m. It's a Sunday this year.
Family service.
Family service. We're gonna finish church that day, and then we're gonna drive to Atlanta and fly out of Atlanta to Maryland.
How about that?
And if that sounds a little bit crazy, I can assure you it's probably even crazier than you think it is. But we are going to, and I'm excited about it. It's going to be good to be there on up in Maryland for Christmas Day. It's already set. It feels like it's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's very close. So that's going to be after a 3-hour service and a flight, and that's a long day for you.
I love you slip that in there. Yeah, the 10 a.m. service. I'm glad it's just the one service. We're letting the child care
Children
rest.
standing the whole time.
Yeah, good. I love it. Yeah, the 3-hour service on Christmas Day. So just go and wear your pajamas so you can be comfortable. You're going to be there a while. We're finally going to let Pastor preach as long as he wants to. Last thing before maybe we talk about the message, I wanted us to think a little bit about where the daily Bible reading plan is going next year, in case I don't get a chance to talk with you on camera this year. Because we're changing it up. Talk a little bit about where we've been and then where it's going next year.
Yeah, so we've been in the key chapters daily Bible plan. So 1 chapter a day, and I think there are benefits to that. You hit kind of the high points. You think of the book of Leviticus, you hit chapter 16, and you cruise past some of the other ones. But this next year, we want to do the Bible in a year. So it'll be about it'll be Old Testament and New Testament reading every day, and Psalms and Proverbs. So it's more reading, but at the end of the year, we can say, hey, I read the Bible in a year.
The whole thing.
Yeah, so there's for example, let's say like day 1 is Genesis 1 and 2, then it's part of Matthew 1, then it's Psalm 1, which is, I think, 6 verses or so, and then maybe a few verses in Proverbs. So that's your reading for day 1. So we're pretty excited about it.
Yeah.
And our life group curriculum, adults curriculum, will follow along with this plan. So we'll pick a day in the previous week. Like, for example, the first lesson on January 8th is on Genesis 9. So that week, Lord willing, we will have read Genesis 9. And then we'll come on Sunday, and as the lesson is on Genesis 9, it's fresh because you think, yeah, I just read this. And
totally.
Here's, you can add to the discussion in the class. So yeah, we're excited about it. But it also gives us the freedom to go back and forth between Old and New Testament. So some of our lessons will be in Psalms, some will be in New Testament, and we'll kind of go back and forth.
Genesis 9 is the Noahic covenant for anybody who is wondering what Genesis 9
is. So do you know,
about.
this is, I thought this was fascinating. So Noah, he's in the ark for all those months, right, with the animals, family. He gets out of the ark, and what the first thing he does? He sacrifices an animal. I mean, you think about that. Like, he preserved their life for all that time, God did, through the ark, and then he gives a burnt offering. But that burnt offering, it says, was a pleasing aroma to God, because the burnt offering means total surrender. So Noah gets out and he just surrenders totally to God, worships him, and because of that, God makes a covenant with Noah. Mm-hmm. And that's where the rainbow comes in as the sign of the covenant, and God says, I'm going to bless you. And anyway, it's just fascinating that animals survive that long, but then one of them at least had to die as soon as they hit dry land.
I think I've heard that. I'm not even sure that this is true. But is the Noahic covenant the first time where God says to eat the creatures?
To eat meat, yes, yeah. So I believe they were vegetarian before then, but that's when, yes, God gave them. Yeah, as long as it doesn't have the blood in it, yes, you're to eat meat.
Right. Yeah, that was interesting because I hadn't even heard that before until I went to the Ark Encounter this past summer, and they talked about how God's people were vegetarian up until that point. Mm-hmm. I imagine they were non-righteous people that ate meat. But then you get all the way to the New Testament, and it says the weak man eats only vegetables, and that's your out of context verse. for today.
There you go.
Love the old out of context scripture. So let's see. You were talking about we're talking about daily Bible reading plan. So I wonder if we can even make that. If we can make that available to people early. We're probably going to launch the new daily Bible reading plan well before the first of the year.
We can do a little preview on the /Daily Bible page. If you
I
want
think
to.
it would be great to have a preview, because the thing, when you open up the new plan, which is a whole Bible plan, it's a little bit intimidating because, well, it was for me. It might not be for most people, but
No, it is.
because it has 4 columns, so it's like 4 separate things that you're keeping up with every day. But you had a good potential solution to that if it seems intimidating at
Yeah,
first.
it may be that you just take one column. You say, okay, I'm going to focus on the New Testament column or the Old Testament, or I'm just going to stay in the Psalms. And maybe that's more manageable, and I would encourage you, that's a great place to start. And if that's what you can do with your schedule and the busyness of your life, then that's a great place to begin.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if I end up going down and just trying to, maybe just doing like a big chunk of one column and then starting a big chunk of the next column, or what.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that I can find. My thing is always like I'm trying to fight against my own brain, like where I can get discouraged or like lose track or like
Yeah.
want to quit, and I want to figure out how I can make sure I finish strong.
Yeah, it is more reading, but we don't apologize for that. We want to encourage you and challenge you. The last thing we never hope you never say, my church never challenged me. They never challenged me to grow spiritually. We want to challenge you. We want to encourage you. Hey, you can do this, and it is. When you look at it, you think, oh, where do I start? Just pick a column, and then maybe the next week you know what, I can do 2 columns this week, and you just keep going. Yeah.
I love it. We'll have more on that soon. I didn't even tell you yet, but you're going to come to our meeting next Tuesday,
Okay.
and then we're going to flesh that out as far as how it's going to be communicated in all the different ministries. But let's jump in just a little bit to Psalm 126 before we close up shop here today. Chris preached on this yesterday. The whole message was our ministry, God's ministry to the vulnerable, to the brokenhearted, and he used Psalm 126, which is one of the Psalms of Ascent.
Mm-hmm.
All those wonderful Psalms in the 120s. You might even be able to see here, these are some of the shortest Psalms and the entire book of the Psalms, which contains 150. And I don't know, where do you want to start with this? I've got a couple of quick notes.
Well, one thing that stood out to me is the hard work of sowing is sometimes I don't know if under communicated or just underappreciated, but Chris showed that picture of the Johnson Dozen family, and he said, that picture looks good, but what you don't know is behind that picture is a lot of tears, a lot of hard work, all those kinds of things. And this is an agricultural, as Chris told us, this is an agricultural picture here, and you think of if they had been out of the land for 70 years and now they come back and they're having to cultivate this land, it's hard. The ground is hard. It's not been kept. Maybe it's dry. And they're having to now plow this new ground. And I'm sure it would have been frustrating. And maybe the weeping was, I'm so exhausted, or the weeping is, wow, it's not what it used to be. But sowing is hard work. And what Chris was talking about, sowing the seed, the gospel in adoption foster care is hard work. It's hard work with biological children. It's hard work with your neighbors, with your coworkers. So the sowing part is effort. And I think that's something maybe we don't talk about enough, that it's just going to be easy. And, the first time someone rejects it, we think, oh no, maybe I'm never going to share again. But there's an effort, and there's tears of what he talked about was compassion and having that heart of compassion for the vulnerable. But that's something that stuck out to me, that sowing, it takes effort. It takes effort to share the gospel.
It seems like with whether you're sowing into your own family or sowing seeds with the vulnerable in your community, there's 2 opposing schools of thought. There's the one which said, well, it always needs to be perfect and fruitful. We see this with parents, and a lot of times people be like, oh wow, these are the best years of your life. Your kids are so sweet, they're so young, and it's like, wow. There's no question these are blessed years, but this doesn't always feel like the best. This is really tough. But then, of course, there's the opposite school of thought where it's like, well, this just kids are just toxic. Like just do what you can, just get them out of your house as quick as possible, that sort of thing. Or stay away from the Lord only knows like how you'll be hurt by all the brokenhearted and the vulnerable people out of there. So just stay away. So finding the biblical approach to it, which is this understanding that yes, you will experience hardship. Mm-hmm. Yes, there will be times when you're in the desert, but ultimately it's for your good. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, it's for your joy. One note that I don't even know if Chris covered this, but as I was reading through this a couple of times, I feel like we can learn a lot about the structure of how we can pray from this really short psalm, because you've got the first 4 verses, which are all just praising the Lord about what He's done in the past. Mm-hmm. But then, in verse 5, you sort of get this song that they would have sung during the pilgrimage as they go up to Jerusalem, saying, all right, remembering you restored our fortunes in the past, so we're remembering that you're the same God, and now we're asking you for that again. Mm-hmm. So many of my prayers look like this. Lord, you've healed in the past, okay, now heal again. You've blessed in the past, now bless again. And it was helpful for me just to be reminded that exact same structure is present in the scriptures as well.
Amen.
Very, very instructive for us. I guess last little bit of trivia before we close up. I try to be open and honest about the things that I don't know. I'm grateful that the Lord's called me to gospel ministry, but I don't ever want to put on airs like that I know more than I do. Yeah. I never knew about the Negeb. And Chris explained that really well yesterday, saying that was a dry desert area. Mm-hmm. And so if the Lord is if He's going to restore like streams in the Negeb, that means He's going to restore in a miraculous way. Mm-hmm. And I appreciated Chris unpacking that for us. That's what the gospel does.
Yeah, I think the picture is as if water's just rushing in and taking over. And you just think about the blessing of God. And I love the harvest part that he talked about, shall come home with shouts of joy, bringing his sheaves with him. The harvest is out of our control. Right. we hope to participate in the harvest, and sometimes we get to. Sometimes we get to harvest because someone else planted the seed, and we're there at the harvest time. That's happened to me a number of times. Or sometimes we're on the front end of that, and we're sowing the seed, and maybe the harvest is later, or after we're with Jesus, or you never know when the harvest will be. But it is encouraging that a harvest is coming, whether we get to see it or someone else participates in it. That God's word does not return empty.
Indeed, the harvest is coming. You guys, I'm going to let that be our final word, and I hope that's encouraging to y'all out there. Hey, thanks for tuning in and spending some time with Pastor Barry and myself today. Pastor's going to be back in the pulpit this week, and he's going to finish up. I'm going to say he's going to continue. Lord only knows if he's going to finish up. He's going to continue talking about the burning bush. I'm excited about that, and I haven't decided yet, we're either 2 or 3 weeks away from Christmas music coming back on Sunday morning.
Can't wait. I love it.
Well, maybe we'll just bring it back this week. Why not? The Christmas tree farm, otherwise known as Lowe's, has all the Christmas decorations up. Man, I can't wait for that December the 25th 3-hour service.
Yes, standing the whole time.
I've got to reach out to the dance team.
You
I've got to reach out to the dance team this week to make sure that they're ready for the 25th.
We have